I want to show you an incredibly powerful tool that will help you understand 1984 as well as any other text that you read online. It's free and it's called Google Read and Write. If you've never used it before, you need to do a little bit of setup. So first make sure you're signed into your myhhs.org email account. Then go to the Google Chrome store by searching for Google Read and Write. The first link that comes up will take you to where you can download that extension to your app. An extension is kind of like an app that just lives within the Chrome browser. I've already downloaded it, so my button is green. Your button is probably blue. So if you could click Add to Chrome and then accept any questions that it asks you if you'll allow Google Read and Write, just say yes. Okay, once you've done that, you should be set up and ready to actually use Google Read and Write. You also need some text to use it on. So in a new tab, go find and open up a full text version of 1984 that's available online. So search for full text 1984. There's lots of different versions of this. You can choose whichever formatting you like best. I like Project Gutenberg if I want to search the whole book at once, or this one if I just want to focus on individual chapters. For this one, I want to focus on Part 1, Chapter 2, because that's the first part of Assignment 2, so I'm going to click there. And now I have the text of the chapter ready to read. Now I'm ready to go, so I'm going to hit this purple puzzle piece to enable and start using Google Read and Write. If it asks you to choose an account, it's probably because you have multiple Gmail accounts. You need to make sure to use your myHHS account to access this in order to use all of the features of Google Read and Write. Non-myHHS accounts will not have access to all of these. So I'm going to switch over to my myHHS. Okay, again, allow any permissions that it asks you to use. Now you've got a full set of read and write tools for Google Chrome. And there's so many things that you can do with Google Read and Write. Let's start with one of the most straightforward, which is having it read the text to you. So you can highlight any text you'd like to read, and then just hit play, and Google Read and Write will read to you in the voice of your choosing. So you have all sorts of other options you can use to get a different voice. So I'm going to change my options. I was in Mexican Spanish at that point. If I choose American voice, so a US voice, it's going to be in English. Notice here now that I'm in here, I can adjust. I can do continuous reading. I can not do continuous reading. I can adjust the speed. So if the voice is reading too fast or too slow, you can slide this up to have them read faster, down to have them read slower, depending on what makes sense for you. And I do not want to be translating into Spanish right now. I just want English. Okay. So we're highlighting and then saying play.
As he put his hand to the doorknob, Winston saw Betty had left the diary open on the table. Down with Big Brother was written all over it, in letters almost big enough to be legible across the room. It was an
Okay, so you get the idea. So this will read out loud to you. You can adjust as you go. So that's pretty powerful. There's some other really neat tools within Google Read and Write also that will help you. Say you didn't know what inconceivably meant. There's a few things that you can do. Here, there's a dictionary. So you can click on a dictionary and it will tell you what it means. It means inconceivable to an inconceivable degree. Obviously not a great dictionary. Again, I still recommend Hindley for better definitions. Okay, sometimes you can use the picture dictionary as well, and it'll show you a picture to try to help you understand what the word means. So here, inconceivably isn't in the dictionary. If I try maybe a diary, they'll show you a picture of what the word is, and sometimes they're more conceptual. Let's see if we can do colorless. Okay, so it doesn't have every word in the picture dictionary, but it does have a lot with pictures of them. Not wispy either. So again, it's more limited than the word dictionary is. Okay, other things that you can do involve translation. One more really neat tool that you can use on Google Read and Write has to do with screen masking, which is kind of the same way in elementary school you used to use a ruler to help your eyes follow the page across. To use that, you click this button, and it makes a narrow bar that lets you just focus on a single part of the page. So if you struggle with chunking or with losing your place where you're reading, this is a really powerful tool to help you focus. The translator will translate words, individual words, into another language. So to use that, you highlight the word that you want to translate, you click on this crossed arrows button, and it translates the word into the language of your choice. You can change that language over here under options. So for speech, or language, for speech, we want to translate into, say, Spanish, and say OK. So words that we don't know, we would say, okay, ink. And I don't know that word, and in Spanish, it is tinta, okay? So that has translation embedded in it as well. The last thing you can do on Google Read and Write, or one of other things you can do on Google Read and Write, is to highlight in different colors. And you have 4 different colors here, as well as a button that will clear your highlights. So if you're paying attention to character, for example, you want to highlight Winston in a character and other characters in another color, you could say, okay, Winston drew in his breath and he seems really nervous. So this is something that helps me understand Winston. And I can highlight in yellow. Maybe now I've got Mrs. Parsons, and here's a description of Mrs. Parsons, so maybe I'll highlight her in green. So I've got different notes here. Here it describes her home, and so that would be green. Here, Mrs. Parsons had a habit of breaking off her sentences in the middle. That's again a character detail for her. And so all of these are tools that you can use to annotate the text or make things stand out to help you with your annotations later. So that's an orientation to the basics of Google Read and Write. Again, incredibly powerful, useful, and free. Definitely worth using if it helps you understand 1984.